The Hawk, the Hound, and the Butterfly, Chapter 10, Athena, Part 1. The first light of day had just broken over the horizon, but Athena had already been up long before. She had slept, probably not as much as she should have, washed the blood and grime from the previous day, eaten a bowl of porridge before the cooks had even started baking the bread for the day, gathered and distributed the supplies amongst the horses, shoed her own and Ares' horse. He never did it properly even when he was sober, and mapped out the route they would take to the Tekken's hidden base. And yet, she was still the first one ready to depart. As the horses nibbled on their oat mix inside the stable, Athena sat on a bench just outside the courtyard, sharpening her sword against a whetstone. Her armour lay beside her, polished and gleaming after a well-needed trip to the blacksmith to bang out a few dents. The armour was more than just protective wear to Athena. She'd designed it herself and had the best smiths she could find to create it. It was steel-plated with a gold finish, made up of layered segments of plates that were moulded to the curves of her body, allowing freer movement whilst enhancing strength. She'd opted for a single sleeve to her armour, an odd choice some might say, but her right arm was protected by her shield, which was leaning against the wooden bench at her feet. It was round and roughly the size of Athena's torso. Engraved on the front was a golden eagle, with its wings spread out, beak open wide, screeching, as though it was about to fly out of the shield and attack. Athena had taken the eagle from part of the royal coat of arms and used it as her own insignia. It was partially out of respect to her family, but also because she was fascinated by the power and boldness of the bird of prey. The smith had also managed to acquire her helm and was able to reshape and mend it back to full strength. She wasn't sure how he'd done it, but he'd worked all through the night and managed to finish it just after Athena had breakfast. Footsteps crunched on the dry grass coming up the passageway. They were steady and light-footed, so definitely not Ares. Athena sucked in a breath of air. She had been feeling rather pleasant, but that was about to disappear. "Morning, Athena," Apollo said. Athena exhaled. She glanced up at Apollo and nodded. Anything she said could make Apollo mopey for the rest of the day. There were dark circles under his eyes. Great. Just what she needed. Going into enemy territory with someone who was too tired to be alert and wouldn't be able to concentrate. His mind had probably been on Artemis all night, as it should be, seeing as it was his fault she was missing. Athena took another breath. She needed to keep herself calm, or this would be the start of a very long and frustrating journey. "Have you everything you need for the journey?" Athena asked. Apollo held up a canvas bag in one hand and a quiver of arrows and a bow in the other. For a moment, Athena thought she saw a light glowing beneath Apollo's shirt, but perhaps just a trick of the light. "I just have to saddle up Arion, then I'll be ready." "Arion?" "Yeah, that's what I named my horse." Apollo walked into the stable. Athena glided the whetstone across the blade of her sword. Apollo's head popped outside the stable door. Athena?" Athena held up her sword and ran her hand over the blade. It was sharp enough to make a clean slice across a Tekken's throat. Athena smiled at the thought of putting it into action. "The horses are already saddled." "You're welcome," Athena said. Yes, thank you. But who's the third horse for?" Athena opened her mouth to answer, but was cut off by a bone-chilling scream that ran through the courtyard. Athena leapt to her feet, her hand gripped tight around her sword. She ran across the courtyard and down the passageway. Apollo stumbled along behind her. "I think it came from the main kitchen," Apollo said. Athena agreed, but didn't say so. She continued down the passageway. A ruckus came from behind the doors to the kitchen. Athena signalled for Apollo to halt and draw his weapon. He already had an arrow nocked in his bow. Athena grabbed the handle of the kitchen door and flung it open. A half-naked man tumbled out and crashed into Athena. She wrestled the man off of her and stood over him, pressing her sword against his chest. Athena groaned. She recognized the man under the mop of messed-up brown hair, but pressed her sword against his chest nevertheless. Ares flung his hair back, out of his face. "Well, good morning to you too, sister," he said. Apollo burst into a fit of laughter behind Athena. Athena glared at Apollo. She clenched her fingers around her sword. She wanted desperately to smack the hilt across the side of Apollo's head. "You're late," Athena said, drawing her sword back. She held a hand out to Ares. He took it and sprung to his feet, swaying slightly on them. "But I'm not drunk. 1 out of 2's pretty good." Athena sniffed the air around Ares. He smelt like the floor of the stag-wood this morning. "That's debatable." She turned and strode back towards the stables. Ares and Apollo followed behind. "So you're our third?" Apollo asked. "That's right, little brother. It's your lucky day." Ares slapped Apollo across his back. "Since I will be joining you two on this quest, we will assuredly return victorious." Athena wondered if she could stitch Ares' mouth shut somehow, but he'd probably still find a way to keep talking. In a perfect world, Athena would be going by herself, and would be back before the end of the week with Artemis and Dagar's head. They reached the stables, and Athena grabbed a bundle sitting on the bench of the courtyard. "Here," Athena said, tossing the bundle at Ares. "Get dressed. Your armor and weapons are inside." Ares winked at Athena. "Thank you, my dear sister," Ares said as he went inside the stables. Athena grabbed the breast and back plates of her armor and slipped them over her head, tightening the straps at her side. She slid her hand through the armored sleeve and began fastening the many straps that connected it. It was a monotonous task, but she was used to it and had it down pat now. The armor was tight but comfortable. It glided over her torso and arm as if it were liquid metal poured over her. Athena took up her sword and slashed through the air. The armor flexed along with her movements freely. Apollo stood by the stable wall, struggling to tie up the laces on his leather vest. Athena rolled her eyes. She put down her sword and walked over to Apollo. His hands were fumbling at his side. Athena smacked them out of the way. Apollo let out a whine, but Athena ignored him, and pulled out the laces to start again. Her fingers worked quickly, threading the laces through each hole one by one, tightening it so much that Apollo would flinch every time. At the bottom, Athena tugged on the laces and tied it off. "Thanks," Apollo said. The corner of his mouth curled into an awkward half-smile. Athena nodded. She turned his torso, his feet stumbling, but the rest of his body following, and began lacing up the other side. "So, you invited Ares along?" "Oh, great," Athena thought. Apollo was taking this moment as an invitation to start talking. "Did you think we wouldn't be able to do this alone? I mean, I understand why you told him, and I'm thankful that he's here, but I'm not entirely useless, you know." The words were just like a mosquito buzzing around Athena's ears. But then if it was a mosquito, Athena would find it and smack it between her palms, and that would be the end of it. She wondered if that would work now. Athena smiled to herself. She got to the bottom of the laces and tugged on it, tightening it more than necessary. "Look, Athena, I know we don't get along, but maybe for the sake of Artemis, we can work together just this once?" Athena tied the end of the laces into a knot. "Listen, boy," Athena said, looking down at Apollo into his eyes. "You had your chance to save Artemis. You failed. I don't know why the king gave you another chance. If it were up to me, you would have been tossed into the wild to fend for yourself years ago. You want Artemis back? You listen to me. You do exactly as I say. You got that?" Apollo kept Athena's gaze. Slowly, he nodded. Athena smiled. "Good. Now go get your horse." Ares emerged from the stables wearing his polished steel vest of armor that molded around his chest, over-accentuating his muscular physique. Only Ares would be so vain as to wear such an armor. It did leave his arms free of any extra weight, allowing him total control over wielding his second favorite weapon, a spear. "Ah, I love a fresh start to an adventure," Ares said as he sucked in the morning air. He was a little more chipper this morning than his usual self, most likely from a successful night at the Golden Stag after Athena had left. Athena rolled her eyes and checked her pack was fastened securely to her horse. Her horse was a powerful beast, bred and trained for a rider like her. It was a well-muscled horse, with strong legs that gave it endurance to last through whatever Athena would put him through. During a thunderous storm, when he was just a foal, he showed a calm temperament in the stables, giving him the name Thunder. Its blood-bay colourings suited the woodlands of Arcadia, but Athena wondered how he would fare in the sandy deserts of Medina, presuming that was where their journey would lead them. "What's with you two? This is going to be a terribly boring adventure if I've only got myself to talk to," Ares said. Athena glanced over at Apollo. He was frowning, lips pouting. He was sulking about something already. "And yet you persist on talking," Athena said. Ares smiled. "There's that quick wit I was after." Athena shook her head. "Come on, let's mount up." Athena swung herself into the saddle of her horse. She clicked her tongue and led the party out through the back of the stables.